Welcome to the Report Writing Training Session. I'm Ken R. Scott, your narrator. In this training session, we will be giving you an overview regarding report writing. We will go over the purpose of a report, how to compose a report, and actually create a couple of reports step by step. The definition of a report is a detailed account or statement of an incident. In other words, it's the story of an incident giving all the facts. What is an incident? An incident is the occurrence of an action or situation. Some of the more serious examples would be a building on fire, a robbery, or an assault. Some of the lesser incidents would be an exit light that is not working, leaking ceilings, or a customer complaint. Regardless of the severity of these examples, they are all incidents and would require a report be made. As a security officer, you will be required to make all kinds of reports, verbal and written. A verbal report can be something as simple as checking on duty. Written reports are more detailed. Some of the reports you will be responsible for are incident reports, daily logs, visitor logs, and vehicle inspection reports. There are more, but you get the idea. There's only one reason that reports are made, and that's to have documentation. Why do we need documentation? Well, there are numerous reasons. The two most important for you and your company are accountability and liability. The dictionary describes accountability as answerable and capable of being explained. Liable means legally obligated. Let's take accountability first. The customer needs to know when something is broken, if the security officer actually patrolled the post, or if a crime was committed, and so forth. Liability concerns are accidents, theft, fires, injured people, or victims of criminal acts, etc. Report writing is an essential part of your duty. It's not something you should be afraid of. As long as you tell the truth and put all the facts down, you should never have a problem. Once you understand the basics, report writing will become second nature to you. Once you write a report and turn it in, the responsibility of the incident is then passed on to the person receiving the report. Let me give you an example. While on patrol, you find a light out in a stairwell. You make a report for it and turn it in to the customer. It's now the customer's responsibility to fix it. Suppose 2 days later the customer had failed to fix the light and someone falls down the steps. They sue the customer, your company, and the security officer, claiming that if the light had been on, they would have not slipped. Who has the most liability? Certainly not you. You made a report. The customer would more than likely have to shoulder that one. They were given a report that the light was out by you and they failed to fix it. The two most important reports that you will be required to submit every time you finish your tour of duty are an incident report and the daily log. We'll go over both of those in more detail later on. Let's take the incident report first. Standard industry procedure is that any occurrence that has the potential for injury, liability, a crime, or an incident that could cost the customer money would require an incident report. Here are some examples. Potential injury. While patrolling, you observe a large puddle of water in the hallway. Someone could slip and fall, injuring themselves. Potential liability. That light is out in the hallway I spoke about earlier, and it has the potential for liability. And liability equals a lawsuit. Crime. Obviously, if you witness or are told about a crime, it always requires an incident report. Financial loss. One example would be a broken fire extinguisher. What if a small fire were to occur, and when you grab that fire extinguisher, it didn't work? The fire could escalate and cause more damage. By the way, all serious incident reports also require that you make a verbal notification as well. Incident reports are not meant to be long drawn-out stories. They need to state all the facts and get to the point. They tell a story, and that story must be truthful. Never try to make it look better for one side or the other, and don't ramble on and on. Daily log. The primary purpose for a daily log report is to verify that you carried out your patrol duties. Unlike the incident report, it does not require as much information. Remember, you're using the daily log to itemize your patrols. For example, you're required to patrol a 5-story building every hour on the hour. Each patrol requires that you check all the doors to see if they're locked, check all the fire extinguishers to ascertain that they have valid inspection tags, check all the stairwells, standpipes, sprinkler heads, basement, parking lot, emergency lights, exit lights, and more. You don't have to write all that down on the daily log every time you patrol. Just enter that you patrolled and everything is okay. You might want to write 0200 hours, patrolled the entire building, all secure. Now, if you patrol and you find something wrong like an exit light out, your entry should read 0200 hours, patrolled the entire building, exit light 3rd floor out, see incident report, everything else secure. There are 3 reasons you should make an incident report in addition to the daily log entry. Number 1, incident reports are made to alert management of a potential liability issue. Number 2, the customer needs documentation to notify their staff. And number 3, unfortunately, not all customers read daily logs, but they do read incident reports. You need to make your reports concise and understandable. The objective of report writing is for it to contain all the facts, be understandable, be legible, and as brief as possible. Unless your script handwriting is perfect, all your reports should be hand-printed. Use the 3 C's approach: clear, concise, and complete. Concise. Concise means be understandable. In other words, get to the point and don't ramble on. Say what needs to be said and leave out all the unnecessary comments. No one wants to read pages of information about something that could have been condensed into a couple of paragraphs. Never give your opinion in a report. Just write what happened and let the facts stand for themselves. If you want to make a suggestion, advise your supervisor. Complete. After you finish the report and before you turn it in, check it over to be sure that you have all the facts, times, names of victims, witnesses, etc. In the security industry, most companies use military time. Understanding military time is not difficult. The difference in military time is that you don't use AM or PM. In military time, each hour of the day has its own unique description. For example, 1 a.m. is 0100 hours. 2 a.m. is 0200 hours. This continues until 1 p.m., which then becomes 1300 hours, and 2 p.m. becomes 1400 hours. So instead of saying it is 2:15 p.m., it would be 14:15 hours, and instead of 1:20 a.m., it would be 0120 hours. The easiest way to remember how to do the conversion is just add 12 plus 2 zeros to all p.m. times. 1 p.m. plus 12 is 1300, and 5 p.m. plus 12 is 1700. With a little practice, military time will become second nature. To be sure that your reports contain all the facts, think of the 5 W's: who, what, where, when, and why. In some reports, you may have to include how as well. Let me give you an example. You discover a burglary on post 503 in an office which has several buildings in the complex. If your report only stated that a burglary occurred at post 503, the report would have insufficient information. A more accurate statement would be, at 0300, followed by the date, A burglary occurred on post 503, the Hawthorne Factory office, suite 23. Unknown what is missing at this time, police notified. Anyone who reads this would pretty much know where, what, and when it happened. That was not a complete statement. It was just a concept that I'm trying to show you. Let's go over how you can make your reports more detailed. Who? The who should include who made the report. That's you. Who is the victim? Who is the complainant? Who are the witnesses? Who was the police officer, fireman, or other government official? And of course, who was the perpetrator? All of these attributes may not apply in every report, so include the ones that do. What? Next is the what. What happened? What was stolen? What kind of weapon was used? What is broken? There are more whats, but again, I'm sure you get the idea. What is sort of a short story. Where? The where is just as important. You need to describe as accurately as possible the exact location. In some cases, there would include not only the street address, but the office or apartment number. Was it north, south, east, or west? Which floor was it on? Etc. When? To the best of your knowledge, enter the exact date and time of the incident. Sometimes you won't know the exact time or date. In that situation, make your best guesstimate. For example, between the hours of 0100 and 0900 this date, the front window was smashed. How? How was the window smashed? How did the victim get injured? How was this incident discovered? Why? Most of the time, why is something you may not know, but sometimes you will. For example, the two men started fighting over a parking spot. Another example. Let's say that a woman is injured while on an escalator at a shopping center while you were on duty. Just reporting that a woman was injured on an escalator leaves a lot of unanswered questions. Was she injured due to a faulty escalator, or was she responsible for her own injury? Here's a few examples where each version completely changes the liability exposure. A. While the victim was on the escalator, it suddenly stopped and caused her to fall. B. While descending on the escalator, the victim states that she lost her footing and fell. C. The defendant was being pursued by the security officer after shoplifting a dress from the ladies' dress store. D. When I arrived at the scene, the escalator was stopped and the woman was laying on the bottom steps. In example A, the liability exposure appears to be on the shoulders of the shopping center. In example B, there is a lot less liability exposure on the shopping center. In example C, there is less exposure to the shopping center. And in example D, there's more liability exposure to the shopping center. The point of this is that you have to include all the facts as you see them and sometimes include the why to the best of your ability so that it's clear why it happened. Until the 4 W's and the 3 C's become second nature to you, write them in your pocket notebook and carry them with you at all times. Incidentally, a security officer without a notebook is like a soldier without a gun. Always carry your notebook. The best kind of notebooks for security officers are these small spiral notebooks that you can buy at most office supply stores for a very reasonable price. Using a spiral notebook has several advantages over those fancy pocket-sized loose leaf books, which I'll explain why in a few minutes. In your security career, you'll go through many notebooks. Each time you start a new book, print on the cover your name, your company's name, and the company telephone number. Put the date you start using the book. When you filled out the notebook, put the ending date under the start date and then file it somewhere safe at home. If you ever need information about an incident that happened on a specific date, just look for the book that contains that date. That's a lot better than spinning your wheels, searching through bunches of notebooks, trying to find what you need. Here's another suggestion. With a pen, write the words Table of Contents on the top of the first 2 pages. In the upper right-hand corner of the 3rd page, write the number 1. The next page, write the number 2 until you've numbered all of the pages. Every time you get finished taking notes for an incident, go to the Table of Contents page and enter a short description and the page number of that incident. Later, you'll be able to look at the Table of Contents to find something quickly rather than flipping through all the pages. Another reason to use a spiral notebook and number all the pages is to support your credibility. For example, when you have to refer to your notebook at a deposition or in the court, the lawyer for the other side will always try to attack your credibility. Regarding your notebook, they might say, "How do I know that you didn't write all those notes in your notebook just before you came in here?" Your answer would be, "Because I always number the pages in my notebooks." If you look at page 23, the page that this incident you're referring to was written on, you will see the pages on both sides have other incidents as well. Those pages are numbered as well, and the page numbers are in sequence with this incident. Also, as you can see, this is a spiral notebook. I don't know anyone who could insert a page into this kind of pocket notebook. This concludes session 1 of report writing.